Can't wait. Inside the Gamecocks, the show served by Chicken Cock Bourbon and our friends at Dixie Vodka. And now we're joined by, this is the first time, but hopefully one of many times, Matt Williams, the pitching coach for Carolina baseball, as he's getting his guys ready to throw their first pitches of the season next weekend. And we can't thank you enough, dude. It's really good to see you. I'm glad we've got you and can't wait to run you out there too for your first real game as a pitching coach for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, Jamie, thanks for you guys having me. I mean, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that first weekend, opening day. Tired of scrimmaging against these hitters that we have, ready to face some different opponents.
Man, I get it. I get it, dude. All right, man. So I know you won't want to do this, but I'm going to do it with you anyways because you deserve it. I do want to dance around with your career a little bit. You've been doing this a long time, and as a first-year pitching coach, I only feel like it's first-year pitching coach for the Gamecocks. Yeah. I only feel like it's right to make sure that people understand who Matt Williams is and what you've done and why you're here. There's a reason why you're at the University of South Carolina now, but grew up an outstanding arm. Your dad, Mr. Tommy Williams, one of the best baseball coaches in the history of this state. And then, of course, you've coached travel ball. You've coached junior college, being at Liberty and Wilmington and all those places. So I want to give you a chance to kind of walk through your life and just how unique it is now to be the guy at the University of South Carolina, a place you've been familiar with since you were born.
Yeah, Steve Williams. Tommy Williams. It's all good. Tommy Williams was at Lexington. Lancaster, obviously, but no, I mean, I grew up in Lancaster, son of a coach. So I was always around the game. Really enjoyed just meeting different people at a younger age and just getting to know them, especially a lot of South Carolina coaches that are still coaching. So that part's really cool. Then started coaching at Spartanburg Methodist, like you mentioned. Was there for 8 years at the junior college level. Then went to UNC-Wilmington. Spent 5 years over at UNC-Wilmington, where we were eliminated in 2 regionals by the Gamecocks. Once here and then once at East Carolina in 2018, I think it was. And from there, went to work for the Padres. Worked in a couple different capacities there with the Padres. Did a little international scouting. Through some big league BP, and then also was a pitching coach at the minor league level for them. After that, I was at Liberty for the last 4 years before coming here.
It's so cool. I want to go back to JUCO because I spent a year at SMC, and you have coached. You were there coaching with Coach Wallace, who's maybe the best JUCO coach in the history of JUCO. I don't know. He's a tough son of a gun. I know that. But I think that that level of baseball really presents a unique opportunity. I don't know if you would. I think you would probably agree with that. And if you want to coach developing players and things like that, can you kind of expand on that a little bit and how being at the JUCO level, the type of player you get, some of them need grades, some of them just need to develop, some of them are just beginning to develop, and that's a place where they can go kind of grow into themselves a little bit. How that helped you maybe become a little bit better of a baseball coach? Yeah,
like you said, I mean, you're coaching all different facets of life. I mean, we had guys that were really good students. We had guys that were average students. And then we had some guys that weren't so good students. And they come from different backgrounds. And I think just getting to know each individual player, I think that was the big thing. We didn't have all the bells and whistles. Obviously, you know that at Spartanburg Methodist, but we got to work every day and just getting to know how each individual learns and kind of connecting with them, I think was one of the bigger things for me, but also just the different hats that you have to wear at that level. Pitching coach, recruiting coordinator, you may have to cut some grass, you may have to rake some corners, that kind of stuff. Take care of the mound. Fortunately, I don't have to do that stuff anymore. So that part's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude. If you would have walked into the locker room last summer when King hired you and he said, well, and by the way, on Wednesdays, you're going to have to cut the grass.
So, yeah. How good are you with a weed eater, man?
No more weed eating and washing clothes. So that's good.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's where I was going next because at JUCO, you got to do laundry.
Yeah, that's right. They're asking me what your best stain remover is, right?
No doubt.
So, and I think doesn't that help you? Like when you evaluate kids and you're recruiting, whether it was at Liberty or Wilmington, now at South Carolina, if you've been in JUCO before, either played there or coached there, you know it probably helps you see through and into sometimes that player maybe a little bit differently than somebody that's never been at that level before.
Yeah, I think it just gives you a little different perspective on things and just how you're going to envision what this guy might be. Because at the junior college level, you're looking at sometimes some projects and like, how's that project going to develop? And I think we may take on, hopefully we're getting a little more polish here, but like, I mean, you may take on that guy that like has some arm strength and you gotta try to figure out the strikes, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, obviously that was definitely a thing at Spartanburg Methodist.
Any dude that was ever volunteering to do laundry was always a guy that I felt like was a team player. You know, at least you knew he'd be a good locker room guy.
No doubt.
All right, so let's fast forward. So what's it been like for you, man? When you walked through the door that first day of work last year, like what was going through you?
I mean, it's been great, man. I mean, like just being back home in your home state, the people you know around here. My wife went to school here, so just being here, and I mean, it's a place that when I started coaching, it's a place that I wanted to coach at some point in my career, and fortunately, I'm here now.
And you're in there with Monty.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully to Coach King at all. Love Coach King and Joey Holcomb and all those guys. Monty's a guy like you. He's a state guy. It's got to be unique for the two of you to be on the same staff. Y'all have known each other forever.
Yeah, no, it's cool because I actually played my sophomore or my freshman year. Monty was an assistant at Spartanburg Methodist when I was on the team. So we go way back, and yeah, I mean it's been great coming to the office every day and him here and being able to talk hitting. Like what are they thinking on that side of things, and also just from a pitching standpoint. I mean, he's very, very knowledgeable guy. I mean, he's obviously been a head coach for a long time. Now in an assistant role, but like just having those moments where you can talk to a guy that's been in it. It's pretty cool.
That it's not always like that, is it, Matt? You know, when you're in a locker room with a staff, not that you wouldn't get along with a staff or anything like that, but just having that extra security blanket. I mean, it's such an open deal with a guy that you've been involved with for 25 years or more in the game of baseball. You know, you just don't get that everywhere. So you feel like when you're having these conversations, you're trying to develop your staff and get guys in different roles and figure out who's going to do what. And Monty's trying to figure out things on his side. And when you can have those conversations, honestly, the way that y'all probably do on and off the field, I'm sure that, I mean, that's only got to help the guys at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it's been really good to just bounce some things. I mean, we were actually outside yesterday and talking about just holding runners at second base. And he was able to give a valuable piece into like, hey, what they're trying to do is base runners and really, really help our pitchers and help myself also.
Matt Williams, pitching coach for the Gamecocks. All right, so let's talk about the guys. You know, I don't think it's going to be fair to you, and I'm sure you defer to Coach King anyways to let him talk about starting rotations and stuff like that. I think Roman's having a couple of issues with his arm that he's going to want to get figured out, but we'll start with the guys that you're identifying as your weekend guys and your midweek guys. Kind of, I'll leave it to you. Kind of run through that group and what you've been impressed with all of them thus far.
Yeah, I mean, we've been off to a pretty good start here in the early preseason. I mean, I think the guys have come back and we've attacked the zone a little bit better than we did at times in the fall. So, I mean, I would say Jones, Eskew, Becker, Kimball, I mean, all those guys, I mean, kind of fighting for that weekend rotation. I mean, you mentioned Roman. It's honestly more precautionary on our end with Roman. I mean, obviously he's coming off the injury, and we want to make sure that guy's with us all year. So he had a little soreness after his last start. We kind of said, hey, we'll take it easy this week and kind of see where we are. He's actually going to play catch today. So as far as like an injury, no, I don't feel like it's an injury for him. It's more just like, hey, let's be cautious. Let's make sure this guy's with us all year. So
are y'all going to tape his camera to his hat this year when he pitches? So he
That's a good question. Right now we are not. We do allow him to do that stuff in the bullpen and stuff like that. But when he's pitching, he's got to separate it and go out there to compete and get some SEC hitters out. I don't think we need to put that camera on the hat.
Has he been like putting a staff together or something? Is it, you know, like when, hey, look here, Veach, when I'm on the mound, this is play. You know, this is the angle you want. You know, no,
I've seen a couple of different guys with that camera. So yeah, he's pretty smart and creative. He'll figure out who can do it and who can't.
Look, you know what I'm about to say. Baseball locker rooms, camera. You might want to make sure you go through the footage before you start putting that stuff out on the internet, right?
No,
you know?
I think knows when to press pause.
Right.
That's probably
a serious editing. Yeah,
probably a smart move. Okay, so
have, Matt, like, but sorry, JB, not to cut you off, but the short preseason that you have and these just few weeks and like little glimpses that you get, is that tough to manage from a standpoint, especially with a guy like Kimball who's coming off of injury, to not press him too hard, but you're still trying to get these guys ready to go? I mean, what's that balance like for you, even with a healthy arm?
Yeah, no, I mean, you try to communicate with those guys each day. I mean, Veach is another one that's coming off an injury. He had hip labrum surgery. Didn't pitch in the fall. So really just trying to get to know him. But also, like, for Roman, it's more like, hey, you haven't competed in a long time. We need to get him out there and just start that competition level and, like, what's it like to compete? Because, when the adrenaline gets going, it's a little different than just throwing a side session bullpen. So, I mean, I think that's a little bit of the setback for him. But, like, I mean, just getting those guys out there and getting them familiar, it's going to be much better when we're facing another team. I would say that.
Yeah. So we were talking to Coach Lake earlier, and I said, well, I'm gonna make sure I kind of spit this out at Matt and let him describe it as being the pitching coach. So you have the fall, and then you get that break, which I know these guys have things they need to do while they're on break, and then they come back, and then you've got, this isn't spring, you got your winter workouts basically, and then you get ready to go. But you get the reports. Guys like our buddy John Whittle, they report on what they see, and the numbers come out. Oh my God, we walked all these guys and this, that, and the other. But as a pitching coach, like, your job is to figure out what these guys can and can't do, and what pitches they can and can't throw in certain counts, and nibble, and all those type things. Can you kind of give us your perspective on that, and how you develop pitchers, especially guys? Michael Polk, for instance, he's a transfer. You're just getting to know him. He's had some issues in the past. Like, you have to work through all these things with these guys individually, and you got to figure out the best thing for their future. So that's not always going to lead to elite stat lines in the fall and in the preseason and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right there, JB. I mean, like, for me, it's more about, like, attacking the plate and constantly talking about attacking the plate versus, like, hey, can we throw strikes? It's like attack. So we're in that mindset of, like, attacking the hitter. But as far as, like, just trying some different things, we've thrown some pitches that we might not throw in certain situations when it becomes springtime, for sure, just to see if a guy can do it. Can we get a ground ball double play out of this guy right here with a two-seamer? Can we get a swing and miss with a changeup that he does? It's maybe his third pitch, but he needs to work on it, and he needs to work on. I know we talking about Roman a lot right here, but he needed to work. We were in a third inning of one of his outings, and he needed to work on his changeup. And I think we threw 5 changeups in a row, and they were all pretty good. And then all of a sudden, we had a hitter run into one for a home run. But it was like, hey man, that was a good pitch, but we were working on something. You got to understand that. And he's pretty level headed, so he took it like, okay, yeah, I get it. But yeah, we definitely want to find some things out, what guys can do, what they can't do, that kind of stuff, before we actually suit up and play another team. So in football, when you watch the spring game, or you check out the reports of preseason practice, and damn, the offense is, man, they're whipping that defense. Boy, there's defensive guys. They might not be very good this year, or vice versa. Is there any way to judge that in baseball? Offense, defense? I mean, it can be tough. I mean, you never know how a guy's going to react until you put him in a game-like situation, in an environment like this. I mean, obviously we think we have some things figured out, but ultimately you don't know till the lights come on. How about Eli? Got to know him a little bit last year. Man, is there a better kid out there than Eli Jones? Tremendous kid. I mean, hard worker, does everything you ask. I mean, he just is very level-headed and comes in, gets his work done, can really talk pitching with. So he's been a lot of fun to be around. Yeah, these guys, you've got a really interesting staff. Just a couple of years ago, I don't even know if they had a left-hander on the staff. I think Becker might have been the only one when he got here as a freshman or something like that. And I'm kind of going that direction because I want to talk about Matthew Becker. He's a very unique arm. He's obviously a lefty, and he's got some things. He's had some ups and he's had some downs, but it just feels like from the outside looking in, he's a guy that probably needs to have some success for this staff to really do what it's capable of doing. So kind of walk us through what you've been able to do with him over the last few months and how he's come along and what he means to this group of guys. Yeah, he's huge. Like you said, I mean, he's a big piece of this. So we need that guy to get deep into some games. I think Becker, the biggest thing we've tried to do with him is like simplify, just make it really simple for him with the fastball, curveball mainly. He has a changeup also, but I think just learning what he can do against certain hitters and that kind of stuff has been big. I mean, his ball really is a ton of carry on his fastball. His curveball has a tremendous depth. So you got balls moving in different directions, and just getting him to understand, like, hey, you don't have to be too fine, man. It's like attack the plate. Like, your stuff's going to play over the plate versus it doesn't matter who the hitter is, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, who's got the best pitch on the team? Is it Veach's changeup or?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, Dylan Eskew's got a pretty good sinker going right now. It's been pretty impressive. But Veach's changeup's really good. Man, there's a Tyler Pitzer, a freshman. He's got a really good sweeper. He's going to be a fun one for you to watch.
So, dude, the sweeper. All right, let's talk about that for a minute. I know you got you got a job to do. I'm not going to keep you here all day, but we could let's find another time. We've got like maybe 5 or 6 hours, and we can talk about this. Well, we'll be at the ballpark next week for our live show in the pregame. So, we'll just pull you out of pregame, and so. We were talking to Will Crow a couple of weeks ago, and Will was telling me, he's like, man, I've got 6 pitches now. I said, 6 pitches? God, boy, how's baseball changed? I hadn't played the game in 18 years. I feel like I'm, 70 years old. But he was talking about his sweeper and how he holds it and all that stuff, and he's kind of showing us and those things. How difficult is, that's a new pitch. So, like, how hard is it for these guys at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old when they've been throwing – slider, curveball, changeup off of their fastball their whole lives, all of a sudden to get into a split or get into a sweeper and things like that? Like, how do you coach that?
Well, it is tough, like you said, because the sweeper ultimately is a bigger pitch. And when you talk about guys throwing strikes, you don't really want to add a bigger pitch to a guy that struggles to throw strikes, because it is such a hard pitch to land. And Pitzer he mainly throws our sweepers. It's a big pitch moving anywhere from like 17 to 20 inches across the plate. And you think about that. If it's moving 17 inches, it's moving the full plate. So that can be really, really hard to land. And a lot of guys, you don't really want to take them down that route. It ultimately, it takes a lot of guys with feel. You got to have tremendous feel to be able to throw that thing consistently.
Yeah. So aim it at their hip, and if you hit them,
then you hit them.
then you hit them, man. But if you're going to hit them, let's throw the fastball. I know. I find it fascinating. But in all of this, though, in all seriousness, all this ties together with the kid that you're going to put behind the plate this year. God willing, he stays healthy. I'm sure he'll get a night off here or there, but not many. Cole Messina, I'm not even going to say anything else. We've watched him play. The only thing I will add is I think from his freshman year to where he is as a junior, he is night and day behind the plate.
Yeah.
What does he mean to this staff?
Oh, obviously he brings a ton of experience. He's very valuable to the staff. He just getting to know the guys and knowing what I want to do and what they need to do. And I think he's done a tremendous job in the preseason of really getting to know those guys. And I hope we keep him back there and keep him healthy all year, because he's kind of a workhorse back there. Not to mention, how he swings the bat.
Yeah, that's scary. You'll call the pitches, right?
Yeah, I'll call the pitches. Obviously, Cole and I will talk between innings and hey, what are you seeing back there? What are you seeing versus hitter? That kind of stuff. I think the communication is going to be very, very valuable because obviously I'm sitting off to the side. I've watched film on these guys, but he's the one that's actually sitting back there behind the plate. So he sees the game a little bit differently. And if there's something that he sees that we need to go with, then that's something we'll talk about.
So how do you manage it, with guys who maybe have some sort of authority to say to shake you off and say, nah, I'm not throwing that here. Can they do that?
No. We have a conversation and we'll know some things, but I also want a guy to be 100% committed to the pitch that he's going to throw. It's not just a pitch that I feel like we need to throw. If he's half-heartedly committed, then like how good a pitch is it really? But if he's committed to another pitch and he feels really good about it, and I think it's right, then okay, I'm willing to go with that.
So how about from the development of a catcher's standpoint? You understand the big leagues, minor league baseball. Those guys, they call the game, but in college, the large majority of the time, it's coming from the dugout. Like, will there be any point where you try to here and there give some authority to Cole or any of the other catchers to be able to call their own game from time to time?
Well, I think there'll be moments. I mean, it's tough, and I mean, you talk about professional versus college. It's a little bit tougher. Our guys are going to class, and like they don't have time to study hitters like the professional guys do. Because like when you talk about a professional catcher and what they're doing for the pitcher, like they sit down and they study a lot of things, and they know trends and that kind of stuff. And I mean, we don't. I mean, I'll sit down and like we'll watch video together with Cole, but like I'm not asking him to watch video on his own and come up with his own game plan. I mean, I think that's something that he's still learning. But obviously, if he, like I said, if he sees something and he thinks we need to go to it, I mean, he's sat back there all last year, so he knows what it's like and he knows what it's supposed to look like. So I feel comfortable with him doing that.
All right, you from a depth perspective, do you feel like you're kind of starting to get things ironed out? Not just, I mean, I know you have your guys that you're considering starting on the weekends, and then more than likely out of that group, and maybe plus some midweek guys, but from a bullpen standpoint, do you feel like you're close as far as what roles guys are at least going to begin filling at the start of the season?
We have an idea. I mean, like we have a group of pitchers that are really starting to separate themselves a little bit, and ultimately I think that can be our bullpen. But as far as like putting them in situations right now, I mean, it's still going to be trying to figure them out come game time, like who what role, that kind of stuff. But we have some ideas on where guys may fall. I mean, obviously Veach is a guy that's finished some games in the past. I mean, Garrett Gainey's a guy that's been throwing the ball tremendously well in scrimmages. Ty Good's got a ton of experience from the College of Charleston. Austin Williamson got some experience as a freshman last year. So we have some guys. Obviously, you mentioned Polk earlier. Man, I'm ready for that guy to get healthy because what a good arm. I need him to get cleared. Ricky Williams is a guy with some experience coming off an injury. He had Tommy John. He's probably, I would say, March before he's ready to go against hitters. And then one other guy that I hadn't mentioned is Jake McCoy, a kid coming off a back injury. He was a late pickup for us. He's a freshman. He had a back injury this fall, and he's getting healthy. Man, his catch play looks really good. He's going to throw his first bullpen tomorrow. I think he could be a valuable piece for us out of that pen.
Is it are you one of these guys that it's important at some point in time sooner than later to have an established back end of your bullpen? Because I know some coaches are, whoever fills that role, but like, is that important to you, having a couple of setup guys, having a closer?
I think that's big, but obviously there are going to be moments in the game where we need to get big 3 outs in the 7th inning. And can we push that guy to the 7th inning and finish it with somebody else? But like getting those last 3 outs, as you know, I mean, you played this game. It's the last 3 outs can be tough. So you got to have a guy that's got the mindset to be able to get those last 3. But I mean, we're going to be able to piece some things together. I think. I mean, I just named a bunch of arms, and there are a couple more that are throwing the ball well. So like just piecing that bullpen together, I think is going to be key. Make sure we put them in the right places.
Matt, we're not going to keep any longer. We'll let you run on that note. I know you're married, and your son is
2.5. 2.5. Yeah, okay. Almost. He'll be 3 in May. So
how's he doing? Has he been coming out there running around the bases and stuff like that?
He comes out here, especially on Fridays. They get out here after he goes to school. My wife gets off work and come watch a scrimmage, and he loves sticking around to the end and running around a little bit for sure.
Oh, dude, I bet that's just tremendous.
It's awesome.
I bet for you as a dad, having your kid out there running around the ball field, man, there's nothing better.
Yep.
There's just nothing better. So congratulations to you and your family. It's really neat to see in a Gamecock uniform. I remember last year when JP was headed off, and I remember someone had mentioned your name. I said, boy, I hope that happens. And it did. You deserve it with everything you've done in your career. South Carolina's lucky to have you be their pitching coach, and can't wait to see you here in about a week, and best of luck this season, man.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Always. Thank you.
All right. Take care.